Navalnaya today reiterated her belief that the president killed her husband, Alexei, urging the media not to be diverted by Kremlin narratives. News today also that Navalny's mother has now seen her son's body.
Yesterday evening, they secretly took me to the morgue, where they showed me Alexei. The investigators claim that they know the cause of the death, that they have all the medical and legal documents ready, which I saw, and I signed the medical death certificate.
The death of Russia's most prominent opposition leader has shaken supporters. An independent human rights monitor in Russia reports that some of those detained at vigils for Navalny in St. Petersburg have now received military draft summons to fight here in Ukraine. So let's bring in the former Russian MP Sergey Markov. He is from Putin's political party and he is joining me now from Moscow. Sergey Markov, welcome to the program. There's just so much to ask you, but first I want to ask you about the death of Alexei Navalny and how you think the world is going to react to it, and are you surprised by the way the world has reacted to it?
No, absolutely no surprise. Most of the world reacted just neutrally, understanding that it could happen, and Western leaders tried to use the death of any political opponent to Vladimir Putin for the denying of the legitimacy of the new election of Vladimir Putin. Western leaders want political isolation of Vladimir Putin, and they was to use the death and election for these purposes. They want to call, okay, before this, Vladimir Putin was, by law president, bad president, of course, very much, criminal, and so on, but nevertheless legal president. But now, he already will be not legal because he killed Alexei Navalny. It's a plan absolutely clear for everybody. As to Alexei Navalny, death, I knew him. I knew him personally. I met him many times, and I discussed with him. He was very bright. He was very well educated, very modern style politician, and he had good political perspectives. But his political perspective finished not now, but 10 years ago, when Alexei Navalny did not recognize Crimean people rejoining with Russia. This decision of Crimean people have been supported by more than 90% of Russian population. And in the moment when Alexei Navalny denied to support Crimea, he killed himself as a political leader. Then he became
let me just
marginalized.
I understand that in your system, he alienated himself because he didn't accept what the rest of the world believes is an illegal annexation. I mean, let's just put that out there. But I do actually want to ask you whether you think it's fair and right, or is it just revenge, that some of his supporters who've just gone to lay flowers at a memorial have been given draft notices essentially to come here and be killed? I mean, what does that sound like?
I think this is a situation happened when the country in the war. We regard ourselves that we're in the war with huge coalition of the more than 50 countries led by United States, Britain, and European Union. It's the biggest coalition in the world, in the human history, and they attacking us. Your coalition who are making aggression against Russia bigger than coalition of Napoleon Bonaparte and coalition of Adolf Hitler. And we are in resistance. That's why Russian public opinion regard those who claim themselves as friendly to United States of America. They regard themselves as enemy of Russia, and that's why such behavior. It's not behavior in the normal situation. It's behavior in the situation of the country in the war.
Sergey Markov, let me just ask you, I mean, again, you've said it from your perspective, but most people in the world, including at the UN, know that it was an illegal invasion by Russia, and actually it's Ukraine that's resisting. So my question to you would be, and I would put it to President Putin too if I could, why would you want to send so many of your own people to be slaughtered on the battlefield here, just for inches of territory that's creating a bloodbath that we have not seen the likes of since World War I? In Avdiivka, we understand that it was 1 Ukrainian death for 7 Russian deaths. Why is this good for Russia?
First of all, according to our information, the number of deaths in proportion 1 Russian soldiers to 2 or 3 Ukrainian soldiers. But the tragedy is that every dead Ukrainian soldiers, they're Russians. For us, it's civil war. For us, it's our people. For us, Ukrainian citizens, it's those citizens who should be part of the Russian. For us, and for her history, in every history textbook, the Ukraine is part of the Russia during 1000, except Polish occupation, German occupation, and American occupation of Ukraine right now. And the reason why Vladimir Putin started the war, it was our prediction that this war will happen anyway, and will start with aggression of American proxy army, which is Ukrainian army, against Donbass. It's planned exactly to the 2023. And the idea of those plan was to crash, Vladimir Putin as leader, and to have intensive political repression against pro-Russian people in Donbass region, exactly as Ukrainian regime make total political repression against pro-Russian people in Kharkiv, in Odessa, in Nikolaev, in Zaporozhye, in Kherson, in Kirovograd, and another numerous Ukrainian city. Vladimir Putin didn't want that Ukrainian regime will repeat same political repression on Donbass.
Sergey, I know that that's your narrative. I know that that's what Russia and you all and President Putin would be saying from the beginning. But my question to you is, you've just said essentially Ukraine doesn't exist, that it's part of Russia. And I'm wondering, you know that we know that history shows that actually Ukraine, Kyiv, is double the age of Moscow itself. So it's a much older civilization than Moscow. And I just wonder whether you're not worried that when you deny the existence of a people and a nation, you're not setting yourself up for the kind of war crime talk that could be adjudicated in the future.
Oh, yeah, interesting question. Of course, Kyiv, it's a former capital, but it's our capital. Open the history textbooks. They call themselves not Ukrainians. All leaders of Kyiv as capital, they call them then only Russians. They're Russians. It's what we want to say. And Ukrainian narrative, it's a neo-colonial narrative, which first of all had been exposed by Polish occupation, then used by German occupation during World War I, then used by Bolshevik, who want to divide Russian people on the different, and now it's used by American occupation of Ukraine. Sure.
Right.
But in fact, they're Russians. Yes, that's right. Capital, it's a capital. Kyiv is capital, but it's our capital. It's not. It's capital of our whole people. That's why we call this war a civil war.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you next. And final question. You say that it's ours. President Putin is about to be selected as the, enduring Russian president, almost no opposition. What do you think, then, he will do in his next term? Is this war going to continue? Are you hearing anything about any kind of move in Moscow or in Kremlin to have any negotiations to end the war?
He will do the same. According to sociology, he will get something about 75%. But Putin has a position. He has strong opposition. It's communist opposition about his economic policy. It's nationalistic opposition about Putin's liberal migration policy. But of course, the nation is united situation in war. Putin for us now as Churchill in Britain in the war against Hitler, as Franklin Delano Roosevelt for Americans in the World War II.
All right, Sergey Markov, thank you very much for joining us from Russia with your very specific point of view, which I know is the narrative in Moscow. Thank you so much for being with us.